They don't like when you
The area defenders assemble. You know, when a woman has her days, there's some men that like to eat that out. They're called Red Wings enjoyer. Do we call the diarrhea enjoyers in that case chocolate wings enjoyer? Or chocolate cheek enjoyer? Chocolate cheeks enjoyers? Is that what we call them now?
Just go, man.
Stop right there. Fuck off. I did not start play. I didn't press play yet. Hello. Nah, brown butter bitters. That's not bad too. Brown butter bitters. Oh my god. Okay, good, fine. Okay, yeah, let's go. By the way, check out side scrollers. Yeah, that is.
Apologies for opening this video with a live-action jump scare. It may have gotten the point across, but statistically,
Sound
at least 2
accurate.
people watching this video just went into cardiac arrest, and I felt guilty about that. But anyway, yeah, just when there was a slim chance that Disney live-action remakes were gonna go out of fashion after Snow White, I don't know, existed, Lilo and Stitch comes swooping in with the steel chair and is looking to completely ravage the box office in the coming weeks, which isn't a surprise when you consider the fact that Stitch is the closest thing Disney has to Mickey Mouse at this point, and the fact they pulled out so hard on the marketing. But it's definitely depressing that this film is single-handedly going to save the future of these live-action remakes. If the film somehow bombs after this video comes out, and take it as a sign from God. Anyway, I love Lilo and Stitch. I grew up with this film, and it's one of my favorite Disney films ever. It's iconic, it's funny, it's very sweet, and even though it was likely unintentional, I always believed the fan theory of Lilo being autistic, and for that fact alone, the film meant a lot to me as a kid. And I mean, she 100% You've all seen Lilo and Stitch, you all know why this movie is a classic. And I rewatched it just before going to see this movie, so that it was perfectly fresh in my mind, and I was able to mentally compare it to the utter abomination I was about to witness. That's a pro tip for any of you interested in watching this movie, by the way.
Hold on. A little bit of ASMR from a can.
Compare it to the utter abomination I was about to witness. That's a pro tip for any of you interested in watching this movie, by the way. Rewatch the original Lilo and Stitch in full, and then go and watch the remake, and you will be genuinely astounded at how badly it screws up everything. Yeah, jumping the gun a little bit here. Fuck this movie. The Lilo and Stitch live-action remake is shockingly bad, and I've seen a lot of people saying this is one of the better Disney live-action remakes in recent memory for some reason.
I mean, it is.
Respectfully disagree. This is easily one of the worst, at least to me anyway. It may be biased talking because, again, I grew up with the original movie and love it to pieces, but I do not believe this is a faithful remake in the slightest.
Oh no, it's absolutely not a faithful remake, but it's better than the other live actions if we're just comparing live action movies.
Audiences who don't remember much of the original movies other than what they watched during their childhood. Because while the plot hits the same beats and features most of the same characters, it completely fumbles the fundamentals, does everything worse, and at the very end completely misses the entire point of this story just for the sake of being different from the original. So let's begin. There will be spoilers in this video, mind, and I know what you're thinking.
That's fine.
Spoilers for Lilo and Stitch, get out of here. But there are some changes made to the original here, and also you would not believe how many people genuinely get upset when I don't give a spoiler warning, so here you go. Not like you care much anyway. Okay, I'll get some nice things out of the way in order to push my agenda of me not being a miserable bastard who hates fun. Chris Sanders still sounds great as Stitch, no complaints there, and Stitch himself actually looks really good. I was initially a bit concerned of how Stitch would look and how there would be a very strong possibility he would fall into the uncanny valley, but he's just as adorable in this movie as he's always been, and they were clearly able to cut loose a bit of the animation compared to other Disney remakes to try to keep things looking painfully realistic. Stitch, naturally being an alien, has allowed him to retain his cartoony design and all the antics that come with that, so I think it works pretty great. Stitch is the only good part of this movie, big shocker. Can I kick this movie's ass now?
Lilo and Stitch? No, I'd rather watch Nim and Portia. No, that I would watch.
These remakes, but I'm just gonna acknowledge it here because there are so many iconic moments in the original film that are just butchered by how bland and boring the colors and cinematography are. The surfing scene genuinely got gutted, and that's my favorite scene in the whole film.
This is absolutely a joke reaction, by the way.
I wasn't very happy about that. Okay,
I don't know if I want to watch Nim do stuff with the Portia. I think that
So,
wouldn't be
dear
Twitch
Disney,
friendly,
please stop
TOS
trying to
friendly,
make
you know?
everything Marvel. The dialogue in this movie is arguably some of the laziest attempts at writing Whedonisms I have ever seen. It's MCU dialogue from Blue Peter. I am sick of watching a movie and quickly coming to the realization that every motherfucker on screen is talking like Tony Stark. Alright, with that out of the way, generally the movie sticks to the plot of the original but just does things way worse. It feels significantly dumbed down and tamer compared to the original. You know, if the fact that adding 2 fart jokes to the script wasn't enough proof. I mean, not to sound too whiny, but there is not only an Uptown Funk needle drop in this official Disney movie released in big 2025, but it also continues the universally beloved movie tradition of having a screaming goat gag, you know, like nearly every family movie released in the last 10 years. It's actually just embarrassing at this point. I don't know what coalition of 45-year-old men is putting these in movies. I genuinely don't know how this gag keeps sneaking into so many movies. The last time goats were funny was with fucking Goat Simulator. Stitch also feels significantly tamer and more playful in the earlier parts of the film, compared to how wild and savage he was in the original, which really takes away a lot of the impact of him naturally getting tamer and more caring as the film goes on. In the original, he was scratching and tearing things apart and pushing Lilo around constantly, yet here he pretty much immediately bonds with Lilo and acts so much more playfully.
Bruh, I didn't mean it like that, you nasty. I know you didn't. But I did.
That's a massive part of Stitch's arc in the original, and
as I said,
it was
it's
cliche,
a joke reaction.
It worked very well
because Nim did do sounding once, so
part of Lilo's family, and I think it really
that's where the joke comes from. Because in my mind, he's a deviant. At least in a joking matter.
Man, are there certainly some decisions being made here? There's one thing I know everyone is going to hate about this movie, and that's how it treats Jumba.
I don't think he's actually degenerate,
holy shit,
right?
there was a reason why I don't show these guys in the trailers.
You know, for jokes.
They are horrifying to look at. Like, yeah, they're visually faithful to the source material, but they look hideous in a live-action setting.
No, Bleakley is fine.
So what's the problem here? And that's a very valid point.
I think Bleakley is fine.
Is that maybe they shouldn't have made the movie in the first fucking place. And second of all, even though they do look horrifying, I still would have liked to see them for more than 5 minutes. For like 70% of their screen time, they're in human disguises. And I don't mean the intentionally bad and comedic disguises they wore in the original. I mean they literally just cloak themselves and look like real, actual humans, which is just so unabashedly lame. I know the main reason why they did this is because unlike every other Disney film that gets released nowadays, this movie was given a somewhat modest budget given what they had to adapt from animation to more expensive animation that they call live action for some reason. But it just makes the film feel so soulless. The director actually wanted to include the more comedic disguises in the film, and specifically genuinely tried getting Bleakley to be put in drag again, but I guess Disney are just too afraid of Bleakley's bewitching good looks. And also, if this doesn't paint an accurate picture of how things are currently going in America right now, then I don't know what will. But this isn't the worst part. The worst part about all of this is what's done with Jumba specifically. You know how in the original, while Jumba had an antagonistic role, he was still a somewhat endearing and funny character that wasn't completely evil and helped save the day in the end, eventually becoming a big part of the family alongside Bleakley? Well, Jumba is the main fucking villain in this movie.
Why did you remind me of that? I'm actually eating my lunch now. I did the Kirsche!
He's not the same character. For one thing, his iconic Russian-sounding accent is completely gone, which takes away a lot of charm, and believe it or not, it really harms so much of his dialogue and makes him much less funny and endearing. He instead just sounds like some nerdy, evil scientist, and it just doesn't fit him. I like Zach Galifianakis, but he is completely miscast here and doesn't even attempt to make Jumba sound more like himself. And as a character, Jumba is just completely evil now, and also has this weird philosophy about attachment and family, and specifically goes out of his way to destroy all of Lilo's family pictures. And the entire time, I just felt kind of sick watching Jumba of all characters do this. Jumba should not be a villain, and the reason he is because Captain Gantu is nowhere to be found in this movie. Gantu was the main villain of the original Lilo and Stitch. Jumba and Bleakley were just comedic antagonistic forces who
technically, we didn't have a villain. We only had antagonists in the original Lilo and Stitch. All of them were just antagonists, though the one with the most villain-like nature was indeed Gantu, but he was just doing his job, basically. We can't even blame him. He really did just only do his job. Same with Jumba. He tried to retrieve 626, which is Stitch. They all were just following whatever they were meant to do as a character. None of them were truly evil except Stitch at the start, because he was created to be evil, but even he found love and peace in his life. You know, because Ohana means family. And that's also how Jumba got fixed, right? the guy who was trying to create the absolute evil in multiple ways by, you know, making natural catastrophes in a single small marble-sized ball, became a good guy that sought to have a place for his creation. All of them should have a ohana. I'm talking about TV series. And it's that magic of changing, of natural change towards the good side of yourself, just gone. Not to mention the Mr. Bubbles miscasting. Terry Crews would have been perfect, like I said before. Indeed. Terry Crews, number 1. Number 2 would probably be going to Dwayne Johnson. That's what I came up with. And, you know, but Terry Crews is a better cast. You're right. No, seriously. They miscast Cobra Bubble so hard. Every human except Lilo and Nani got miscast, but Nani's script got fucked. I don't remember what the what is the dance called again? Yeah, anyway, the dance instructor, I don't remember what he looks like. I hope he got cast good too. But, man. They miscast pretty much everyone except, like, the main 4 humans. Which are Lilo, Nani, the guy. Actually, only these 3 are decently cast, I guess.
We're still decent people besides that. Trying to turn Jumba into Gantu doesn't work. It just doesn't. I get that they apparently couldn't get Gantu to work in live action because of the budget, but if you have to compromise this badly to the point that you turn one of the most lovable characters of the original into a sneering evil maniac, then what is the fucking point? I'm not against these remakes being different in some ways compared to the original, by the way. I know a lot of people will argue that there's no winning here because I think directly taking the original film and doing it in live action will just be lazy and pointless, but making changes to it is all.
No. Just based on Stitch, this could have worked. And making a live action of Lilo and Stitch with the original text, the original script in mind could have absolutely worked because it's a beautiful message, a beautiful movie, and you could have absolutely made a bomb movie, live action with it, if you just done it right. Done it right by following the source material accurately and maybe just modernizing the jokes, I guess, that were already in there. You could have easily done that. Like, for example, what they did with instead of I read her budget, my left butt cheek. Yeah, I agree. I agree. They probably put all of the budget into what do you call it? Merch and fucking ads. They probably put 50% of the budget in there or more, I don't know, and like only 10% into the movie itself. I could imagine that. I absolutely could. Man, it could have been such a good movie. It really could have.
Directly taking the original film and doing it in live action will just be lazy and pointless, but making changes to it is also bad, and the only argument I can give is that it should have been good. Sorry, it just should have been good. You can't change things for the sake of being different and have that be the end-all be-all. Jumbo does not work as a villain, end of story.
Indeed.
And he's not the only character that got the short end of the stick here. Stitch got most of his depth removed, as stated. Lilo's behavior is extremely toned down to make her more likable, I guess. I get some people were annoyed at how bratty Lilo was in the original, but it helped to sell the fact that she was a troubled kid, and her behavior overall helped a lot of children with autism relate to her, even though that was likely unintentional. But here it feels like they realized Lilo had become an autistic icon of some sort, so they really toned down her behavior. That's just what it feels like to me, though. Don't put too much stock in that. And I can still see autistic kids relating to her here, but I just don't like how overly sanitized this movie is compared to the first.
Would not
Nani has also been toned down to be far less stressed out and angry at Lilo, but not much has really changed with her, except for the ending, which I'll talk about in a second.
No. A lot has changed with Nani. Instead of being this this feeling big sister that actually watches out for you, she's this annoyed big sister that wants little to do with her little sister, screaming at her, telling her to grow up fast. She really doesn't want to deal with her. She cares little about her feelings, and just, you know, it is what they did to Nani is absolutely terrible. I disagree with Cartoonshi right here. They absolutely butchered Nani. Holy shit.
Angry at Lilo, but not much has really changed with her, except for the ending, which I'll talk about in a second.
No, many things have
I
changed.
didn't catch the name of, who was apparently super close with Lilo and Nani to the point of basically acting as their grandmother of sorts. And not only does she pretty much do nothing interesting throughout the narrative, but she only serves to dumb the movie down further by making Nani feel much less alone and stretched thin when taking care of Lilo. Since she's also the one to take Lilo to get a dog in this movie, which fundamentally doesn't work, since that's what Nani wanted to do for Lilo to make her happy after overhearing her wishing for a friend in her room. David is just a dumbass now. He's completely flanderized. And then we have Cobra Bubbles, and he's just so fucking lame in this movie. In the original, Bubbles was a scary-looking and demanding, but well-meaning social worker who genuinely...
Yes! It was this stoic, big man who looks like he doesn't care about anything at all, and he has Cobra tattooed on his fist. And Lilo points that out in the movie, by the way. You can go ahead and check that in the animated movie. She's like, Cobra, did you kill people? Right? He actively looks like a mass murdering psychopath in some sense to Lilo. And no, he's not. He's this good guy deep down with just a hard outer shell. It's like, oh my god, it's almost like they completely replaced Nani with a different person, almost like an alien. Yes! I wouldn't be surprised if... If in the second movie, it's just about rescuing the original Nani that got replaced by the Nani we saw in the first movie. In the first movie, Nani is like not the real Nani. And the real Nani is the actual, like, animation Nani. Man, that god damn it. I really don't want to have this.
movie. In the original, Bubbles was a scary-looking and
Disney, please don't make me look up in 2 years or so. Look one of my old streams up on YouTube just to, you know, to see my prediction right here. Don't make me look up a fucking VOD from 4 years ago just just to look up my prediction to put it in a new stream. Fuck, please no. Also, my window's open. I should probably close that. Hold on. Whoopsies. Whoop. So sorry. We're right back.
Demanding but well-meaning social worker who genuinely cared for Lilo's safety. He was also secretly a CIA agent who had experience dealing with aliens in the past, allegedly saved the planet one time, and had also met the Grand Councilwoman, which helped smooth things over in the film's finale. He was a very simple character, but people liked him enough. In the remake, though, he's just an ultra-serious CIA agent who has never met the Grand Councilwoman, who later decides to disguise himself as a social worker just to have an opportunity to capture Stitch. He doesn't care for Lilo at all, and has to legitimately be convinced during the finale to help save her. He's also kind of split into two different characters because there's this new social worker character here who basically fulfills all of his previous modes as a social worker with none of the harshness that made him a legitimate antagonist and helped to increase the stakes for Lilo and Nani. Overall, I'm not happy at all with how this film treats its characters, but before we...
By the way, just again, with the budget, instead of casting multiple people that will take up so much more money, you could have closed down the cast again. Hello, I see you are trying to learn old lessons. Yeah, I got a request from YouTube to react to this specific video, so yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, no, if we talk about the budget again, there's too many people cast here. A new character, the neighbor, that never existed. Why? That's a waste of money. Cobra Bubbles being separated into two characters. Again, why? Again, you gotta cast one more person. Why do that? What else? The human form of Jamba and Pleakley. Why? Why do we need that? Hello? We don't need that. Just make them disguise again. You already have the design of them. You could have just, you know, motion cap. There's enough people who fit their build for a motion cap suit, no? Am I the idiot here? Am I talking like trash right now? Should I close the lid? Am I being I'm not the insane one here, right? Because live action adaptations of good multi-films are trash. No, I agree. It would have been a bad movie regardless, but they could have at least followed the storyline. I agree. Live actions are trash, but this one specifically could have worked really well if they just followed the old script. It would have been just a new Lilo and Stitch for people who don't like the old animation. Like, children nowadays hate old animations. And I feel the message of Lilo and Stitch would have worked wonderfully in today's society and standards of children. It would have been beautiful to see, and children probably could have taken a whole lot from this movie with them. You know? It could have been nice. It could have been helpful to lots of parents in how they teach. Because look, Lilo has nothing, and she attained happiness through suffering. So don't blame your parents when they have to be stern sometimes. Because you still have your parents. It could have been a wonderful lesson. But this, you know, it just
increase the stakes for Lilo and Nani. Overall, I'm not happy at all with how this film treats its characters.
Agreed.
But before we get into how the ending ruins everything, let's have a change of pace. My main problem with Lilo and Stitch 2025 is the fact that it feels like an abridged version of the original movie.
That's such a good description.
I'm nearly 21 years old, I practically have one foot in the grave, I don't like when things go too fast, but me, are the pacing issues evident if you watch the original movie right before this? I know the original movie wasted no time getting right to the point, but the remake somehow manages to outdo it in that regard. The film just kinda starts. It's a weird thing to describe, it just doesn't really have any finesse to it, and then the rest of the movie feels like it was made by
because they cut out a whole lot from the start of the movie because Gantu was probably in there. Every part where Gantu was in there that, you know, has somewhat of an introduction, why Stitch is there and stuff, just, you know, gone. People who already watched the animated movie know what's going on, and I noticed that just now that I had no issues with following the movie because I already knew everything before that, because I recently, like a few months ago, watched the animated one again, rewatched it, and that's why I knew most of the stuff what was happening, right? But people who watch it for the first time don't. They don't know anything about the movie, except that Stitch exists. Stitch is like big. Everyone knows Stitch. It's like with Pikachu. You don't know Pokemon, but you know Pikachu.
But just doesn't really have any finesse to it. And then the rest of the movie feels like it was made by someone just recalling all the scenes that happened and writing their fundamentals down on sticky notes. A lot of scenes from the original movie are way shorter, like the opening sequence of Stitch escaping the Galactic Federation.
There's like 4 scenes.
To see that they managed to add an additional 20 minutes to the runtime somehow, because the film certainly didn't feel much longer, and it's not like the original stuff they crammed into here was paced any better either. And what definitely doesn't help how fast the movie moves is the fact that the editing just can't catch up. It does get its shit together around the
for fans, but for modern audience.
Movie, my god, like, you know, that one scene in Bohemian Rhapsody everyone makes fun of where there's like a billion different cuts happening every 2 seconds? That's the exact issue this movie has, and it makes everything that happens super jarring. Scenes just happen with no way to connect them properly. It's below amateur
I'm
work.
sorry.
It's an utter mess. Alright, now
off topic, I am guilty of that as well. My as well, but this is pretty bad, but my stream highlights of the drinking day in Berserk Kazan, the cuts are 4 seconds long. Every 4 seconds there's another cut. But that was purposefully made to just have the deaths and stuff. So I'm sorry. I'm guilty of that as well.
with no way to connect them properly.
Shake
It's
my
below
head.
amateur work. It's an utter mess. Alright, now here's the part where I bitch about the ending. Not only is the ending insanely lame compared to the original, since Lilo and Stitch are captured together and defeat Jumbo together with no help, so Bubbles, Nani, and Pleakley just kinda do nothing but drive towards them the whole time. No spaceship fight or anything. But unlike the original, where Stitch is allowed to stay with Lilo and Nani, with all of them being under the protection of the Galactic Federation, and Bubbles taking on a more parental role as he keeps an eye on them. Okay, well, all of that does still happen, but there's one major difference here that completely
Put him in
destroys the entire
shackles.
point of the movie. Nani
No!
was convinced by not only Lilo, but the useless neighbor character to leave Lilo to let her live with them and Bubbles before she leaves Hawaii to go study marine biology.
Yeah.
What was the fucking point then? This ending really sucks. The whole point of the film was Lilo and Nani growing closer with Stitch in tow and becoming a proper family after the deaths of their parents.
Don't, he might like it.
Nani's
No.
main struggle throughout the whole movie is trying to keep custody of Lilo and stop her from being taken away by child services. The whole marine biology.
I am, for multiple reasons, not gonna enjoy shackles. First and foremost, because I had altercations with the police when I was smaller, and I'm, quite frankly, really nervous in front of the police or any authority figure of the state. I mean, for good reasons other than that. But, you know, and also I have an allergic against metals. I get rashes and shit if I have contact to metals for long enough exposure, which long enough means about 10 to minutes to half an hour, and then it already starts. So, you know, multiple reasons why I don't want to be in shackles, so please give me zip ties if you really want to shackle me, but even then, how about no?
thing was mentioned like once or twice throughout the film, and now it's suddenly
understandable.
enough for Nani
Taking
to
the
let go of
joke back.
Lilo.
Where
Not to
does
mention,
it
if the neighbor
belong?
and David were going to offer to take care of Lilo.
No, don't take the joke back. I'm just messing with you. I mean, everything I said true, but you know, you can still put me in shackles if you really want to.
Anyway,
just take them off after 5 minutes, please. I retract my shackles. Get zip ties.
Even trying to turn around the whole Ohana means family message so that she prioritizes herself and her own health. And in a way, I like the idea in concept, but it completely flies in the face of the entire movie. And I don't care that she uses Jumbo's portal gun to go visit Lilo whenever she wants while she's at university, because that just makes it worse. It's a pointless.
But in the defense of the police that I interacted with or had altercations with, the police that I met, respectable, educational about whatever I did back then, because I was a child, gave me quite the scare for good reason. I love the policemen I have I've encountered so far, honestly. So I can't even say too many bad things about police, because all the police I've met were good people. And at that time, I was clearly a migrant to this country. Clearly. So they didn't even show me like any prejudice, right? And I can't even talk bad about them, because they gave me life lessons, talked to my parents. By the way, back then my father was a piece of shit back then, because adult child basically back then. And instead of talking to my father because he noticed, he talked to my mom, which was basically the one that raised me for most of my childhood. Dad nowadays is pretty good, but you know, flaws and all, still. I still love him. And he noticed, changed the approach, and it absolutely worked. Right? Absolutely good policemen that do their job, and you know, I only got the cops called on me once less than a year ago. Oh, that is good of that officers. There's like 2-3 different officers I interacted with in like cases. One was outside of I was not in the case, where I was a stupid little ignorant bitch and touched the gun of the policeman multiple times. We made it a game, and the policeman, instead of doing anything radical, just turned around and said, "Hey, yo, this is dangerous. Don't do that." Yeah, no, we were like with a finger, just a finger touch. We didn't like try to grab it. We were like sneaking up behind him and touch the gun until he noticed. We were stupid back then, I agree. But he was a good guy. And he just turned around and said, hey, yo, don't do that. Like, he didn't take out the gun, but he said, this is a really dangerous weapon, pointed at it and stuff. I guess it wasn't in America. Nope. I'm in Europe. And the other time, it was because as a child, I actually stole something in a store. Multiple times, actually, in the same store. And we got caught. And they talked to my parents. Yeah, it wasn't a good time for movie back in the day. But that experience actually shaped me to become a better human. So I'm actually thankful for that experience a whole lot. I'm very thankful to the policeman that I managed to get in my life. And what was the last one? I remember hold on, there was a third one, 100%. Yeah, in my country, teenager stealing is a thing. No, I wasn't even a teenager. I was a child, under 12. What was the other one, though? Oh, yeah, in school? Oh, no, there's two in school, actually. We had, like, this thing where they set up a box. It was police officers with full gear, because they also showed what the policemen did in, like, scenarios with guns and everything. It was pretty cool. They had this box. Oh, Moomy. They had this box where there were 4 puppets in there, like human-sized puppets, clothed like humans, and our quest was to look inside the box for 2 small holes where your eyes just barely saw through, and tell the policeman how many puppets you saw. Every single one of us guessed 3 out of 4 puppets, because the first one was brightly clothed with reflectors on it to reflect light. Everyone saw that one. The other one was just really colored in light colors, like white, yellow, bright colors, right? The third one was in like a little less colors, like blue, maybe brown, like darker colors. And the last one was clothed fully black, but it was a white puppet, right? But no one saw the 4th puppet because, you know, it was a dark box. So I saw a guy try to steal chocolate and got caught. The employee covered him in some strong words and said, "Get the fuck out." No, and the 4th part, the message of the story is clothe in a way that cars can see you. Because if you go over the street when it's really dark outside and you're clothed like that, you're gonna get fucking overrun. Dang, man. Yeah, no one saw the 4th person. We all got a second try to look inside, and then everyone who knew, we knew there was a 4th puppet. We searched for it and we saw it. Right, they were just next to each other, obviously, but no one saw the 4th puppet. It was a really strong message that resonated with me, because from then on, I always had something that was visible on me, always. Either something bright or a reflective something, like a jacket with a small, like where there's like a stripe on the arms that is reflective, or the logo is reflective. Something, just something. Because I was, you know, I didn't want to fucking die. And the other one, really funny. There was a cop coming to our classroom, and I remember this vividly. One of my classmates said, "Oh, damn, a cop!" And cop is actually derogatory in German. And he said it in German. And the cop was like, "Hey, yo, you can't say that, man." And he got a stern talking to. But all the policemen I met so far have been good men. And women, actually. The few I met were absolutely good people. So I was really happy about that.
Portal gun to go visit
Anyway,
Lilo
let's go.
she wants when she's at university, because that just makes it worse. It's a pointless cop-out and a painful...
How did we get to the police rant? I feel like Kirsche.
Whenever she wants when she's at university, because that just makes it worse. It's a pointless cop-out and a painfully lame happy ending with no compromises. The original already had a happy ending without all these lame cop-outs. It's just... This movie is lame. I hate it. I really do genuinely hate this movie.
Classic happening.
So much better. I am genuinely running out of things to say at this point. What it tries to copy one-to-one from the original, it does sloppily with a lazily abridged story, and the things it tries to do differently are just bad. Again, it might be my bias talking, but I consider this to be one of the worst Disney remakes by a considerable margin. I cannot stand this movie, and I'm sure...
Agreed. Hold on. What happened to me was, showing some friends of mine a Bowie knife, and one of my friends held it out towards traffic, and after a couple minutes, 2 police cars pulled up next to us. Oh, God, this is so painful. Agreed. Oh, damn, that... You got caught red-handed, Azura. God damn. No, I actually had with me sometimes knives, but I used mine only for, like, in forests, for like wood or something like that, and it was actually appreciated by the teachers most of the time. One of them was like, okay, keep it in the room until we actually go to a forest. But everyone else was like, oh, you got a knife, cool, we got one more, because I forgot like half of them. So yeah, my knives got appreciated by my teachers most of the time. Because they knew I was actually handling the knives respectful. I also once in cooking class got cut by a knife by one of my classmates because they didn't know how to handle a knife. They were holding it by the handle and were giving it to me. I noticed, tried to pull my hand away, but it already grazed me and gave me a small cut. I looked at my friend. I wasn't angry. He was like so apologetic because he just realized he cut me. And I told him, hey, yo, it's good, but I'm gonna show you how to handle a knife. So let's go. And my teacher actually watched from the other room, right? And after I was done explaining, you hold the blade of the knife on the back of the knife if you want to give it to someone. That way you don't cut yourself and you don't cut your whoever you're giving it to. And that was like my message to him. And my teacher came up to me after the explanation, was like, how the heck did you handle that so well? And I'm like, what do you mean? This is what someone who has knowledge about knives should do. You give knowledge along. You don't want them to injure another person. And she was like, God damn, that's so grown up of you. I love that teacher too. She was somehow, I don't know why, she was not that popular among the students. Even though, true main character moment. No, she was really unpopular with most students, but I liked her because she was real. She stayed real, and I think she was just a little too blunt for people. I guess most of them were, just softies in that term. Because she really didn't like when you like whipped when you like were leaning with the chair and stuff, because she had a child kill itself by leaning too far back and breaking its neck. You know. And she really had PTSD because of that and really hated every child leaning with the chair. And people didn't like that too much about her, but I think it was just a lack of compassion for most kids. I understood, so I avoided leaning in her class especially. I still did it in other classes, but you know. Dumb child. That's understanding. Yeah, I agree. And she was one of the few teachers that let us listen to music in class, because she was a arts teacher, and you know, you can listen to music while in class, while in arts class. But some children were like saying to other teachers, "But she lets us listen to music," and that's why music got banned entirely. Those few ruined it for everyone. Because they tried to manipulate teachers in other classes. Fuck. Classic, yup. Yeah, I did pretty good at keeping my cool, talking to the officers. Afterwards, it set in that someone had called the cops on me, and I was shaking like a leaf. But yeah, knife handling should be taught. Absolutely. When and if I have children, actually, it's when I do want children at this point. Honestly, not yet. I know I'm absolutely not ready, and if I got children now, I would absolutely just traumatize them, which is not good. They should grow up in a stable home. If I have children, I'm definitely gonna teach them self-defense, how to handle weapons with care, knife and gun handling. Yeah, absolutely. They should know how to use these weapons properly. Actually, tools. I believe guns and knives are tools and not weapons. They should be treated as weapons, but they are tools at the end of the day. There's a small difference, right? But that difference is important. First thing to learn is how not to kill themselves. Yes, true. Yeah. Let's finish
One of the
this.
worst
Let's
Disney
finish
remakes
this.
by a considerable margin. I cannot
Agreed.
stand this movie, and I'm sure plenty of
Me
families
too.
are gonna love it, and that's fine. But it just felt like this was completely designed by a committee of people who just wanted another chance to put Stitch's cute and marketable face on something to take another billion of your money. That's the end of the video. I'm out of things to say. I'm done. Go play Yakuza.
Go play Yakuza! A sword is a weapon and tool. The tool part just happens to be a weapon. Yes, agreed. Oh, we're done with the reactions. Cartoonshi, check him out. His video was a masterclass on how to criticize a movie or any piece of media in a very content-rich way, honestly. The editing was good too. Link? Okay, link. Copy. There we go. That's the link.